First of all, Tom, a lot's happened since you last stepped on a football pitch. Thankfully, restrictions are starting to be lifted and football's starting to get back on its feet. How have you found it over the last few months?
From a football perspective, obviously it was a big disappointment to finish, but I think it's obviously the right decision in the grand scheme of what's gone on over the last 6 months. It's been a ridiculously strange time, scary time, at some points, and I think, like you said, restrictions are starting to be lifted, so there's sort of a bit of light at the end of the tunnel now. I'm still sort of a bit concerned about, obviously, when fans are going to be able to come to games, and that's not sort of been addressed, I don't think, as much as it should be, because without the fans there at games, I don't think it's going to be the same. It's just like a practice match, as we've seen with sort of the end of the Premiership season. So, I'm looking forward to when it does start. But the last sort of 6 months, from every aspect, from football and home life, has been very, very strange.
So the last game you played was obviously that 1-0 win away at Marine back in mid-March. Do you think at the time that would be the last game that you were going to play that season?
We kind of half had an inkling. We spoke about it before the game, and we said if this was going to be the end, because they were already starting to implement certain measures, then we wanted to end on a win. We were quite realistic in the fact that the way things were going, something was going to happen, and obviously us being at a certain level, we were probably going to be first to be the season being kibosh. So it was important for us to finish on a win, because whatever happened, we wanted to take sort of that same sort of environment and winning sort of atmosphere in the dressing room into next year.
How disappointed were you when you found out that the season was declared null and void?
Massively disappointed, obviously, because of what we've done over the course of a year. The effort and hard work that not just ourselves have put in, the management, the staff, the people behind the scenes, directors, Harry, you guys, the media, but especially, the fans that had sort of got, backed us all the way, even on our bad spell, around sort of September, October time, they backed us the whole way. And we'd really come out the other side, and we're really starting to play some really good football. So it was disappointing in that sense, but like I said earlier, it was the right decision because of what's happened. Like I say, it's been a crazy thing that's happened. I'm just glad that we're starting to see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
So moving forward, looking on to the upcoming season scheduled to start on the September the 19th with the FA Cup a week before that, how excited are you for it?
Can't wait. It's obviously, I'm not getting any younger, so every season to me is a bit of a blessing in that sense, because any one could be my last. So excited. Like I say, we've got two of Richie and Jay Rover have stayed, so two great lads that I get on really well with on and off the pitch. The managers, obviously, I know what he's about, I know what type of football he plays, I know the way he wants to do things right. So for me, the core's there already for us to build on. There's always going to be a turnaround of players in non-league, but I know that we'll get it right for the first game, and I'm excited to sort of try and replicate what we did last year and even go on better and finish top.
Pre-season starts next weekend, or the games in pre-season start next weekend with a nice local derby against Radcliffe. Bet you and the rest of the lads are keen to get some minutes in.
Absolutely, we've been working hard. We've been back in a good few weeks now, and the gaffer likes to work as hard, which what you expected in pre-season. So I think even in sort of lockdown, because of the weather we had and stuff like that, lads were keeping themselves ticking over, because every sort of appreciated football a lot more when we couldn't play it or couldn't watch it. So I think it's going to be a good season, even if it's probably going to be a short one, where lads are really going to be not taking it for granted, really sort of reveling in the moment and playing as hard as they possibly can week in, week out, which is a good thing.
Many players obviously come and go at this time of the year. How's it been getting to know your new teammates?
Yeah, obviously for me, it's obviously different, because when you're playing at a different level, you retain a certain amount of your team. In non-league, the lower you go, the quicker turnaround is. In some sessions you get 4 or 5 lads coming in, and then the next session they've gone again, and a new lot have come in. So over the last few weeks, Gaffer's started bringing players in that we know we're going to be here for the first game of the season, and we're building a strong nucleus for that first kick-off.
Talking about off the pitch matters just for the moment. Earlier this week we saw the sad news that Droylsden have resigned from the Northern Premier League. You work in finance yourself. Do you think we could see more clubs suffering the same fate?
Absolutely. I'm a bit shocked that nothing's come out up to this point. I know Droylsden's the first to come out and say it, but these clubs aren't self-sufficient. I think Rami might be a little bit different in the sense of we know what Harry's like. He's tight, but he's also a very shrewd man, and he does sort of plan for these situations where I don't think a lot of clubs do. And it's down the football pyramid. We're going to see a lot more coming from sort of League 1, League 2, the National League North. I think there's going to be a knock-on effect from what's happened over the last 6 months, not just in football, but in normal business life as well.
And what do you think the government and the local authorities can do to save these clubs?
filter the money down. You know, there's the bubble of the Premier League, you know, the Championship to a degree, where the money's endless in some degrees. So I think if money's filtered down more so from the Premier League, you know, the clubs that are, you know, you can't knock them because it's a business as well as a way of life for these clubs. You know, you likes of your big clubs, you know, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. You know, they've got to do a little bit more, in my opinion, to sort of filter the money down and keep sort of grassroots football going, because without grassroots football, in my opinion, there is no football.
And obviously, with working in finance, if you could offer any clubs that are watching this that are going through any hardships, what advice would you give them?
It's easier said than done, because without actually knowing the actual ins and outs of the actual finances that they're going through, you can sort of never really sort of predict what's going on. You know, you just don't promise the world to players. You know, keep it within a strict budget. You know, you'd rather have football than no football at all. So if it means, you know, asking lads to turn up, not get paid at all, you know, just for the fun of the game, then I think it's, you know, this lockdown's made people realise that there's more to life than money, and there's more to life than you know, in the grand scheme of things, football. So the main thing is that clubs do continue to go on, and they need to stick within their budgets and try and do as much as they possibly can, and, you know, do schemes for the youngsters, get the youngsters coming through, promote from within. That's a very important thing. I think Rami are trying to do that. We've got a couple of young lads training with us now, who are, you know, good enough to probably play a part this season, and that's a big thing in non-league football, I believe.
Back to on the pitch matters. What are your aims and objectives this season?
From a personal point of view, try and replicate last season. You know, score as many goals as I can. You know, help the team as much as I can. Be the most experienced player. You know, got quite a few young lads. If I can sort of use my experience to give them the best possible chance to, you know, like what's happened this year, move on to other clubs, you know, bigger clubs, then, you know, that's what it's all about. I think, you know, we've got a good conveyor belt of, you know, staff and players that are on the same page of, you know, we do well and everybody does well together, and that's the most important thing. So from a team point of view, like I said, replicate last season, if not go one better. We know it's going to be tough. It's a tough league, but I think, you know, the gaffer sets a certain philosophy, and if we stick to that and get the right personnel in that believe and want to buy into it, then we'll do well again.
And finally, have you got a message for the fans?
Just you know, stick with it. You know, I know we got, you know, the core of the Rami fans that come week in, week out, and, you know, they're there no matter what, and, you know, the players fully appreciate what they do, the commitment that they make to us, and any other fans that are watching in, you know, the old sort of Bury fans and you know, other fans that particularly don't want to particularly go to other bigger grounds, come down to Rami, because you'll see, you know, high tempo, good football, honest football, and everybody have a beer in the bar afterwards, which is always a good thing.
Thanks for your time, Tom.
No problems.